me under your wing, crack of thunder, as the wild birds sing. You can hear hunger crying out, a sonic echo that leaves no room for doubt. All the shots, bring it back to what it's not. Make a move, do we do? As the world cries tears in our hands, are we all part of a bigger plan? Call the shots, bring it back to what it's not. Deepest oceans, they can't betray enough. Empty spaces, time to rust and dust. There's no wonder left for us to love. No warmth or shelter, just satellites above. All the shots, bring it back to what it's not. Make a move, do we do? As the world cries tears in our hands, are we all part of a bigger plan? Call the shots, bring it back to what it's not.
And so it is all change in the Rapper Racing Club Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain as we ditch the cold and miserable United Kingdom and venture to the other side of the planet for our trip down under for rounds 9 and 10 of the championship to my favourite track. It is, of course, Mount Panorama for something very different this season. And yes, I am indeed not Mr. David Addison. I am Lewis McGlade here in the booth with, of course, Paul Smith. As ever, you are in your fancy Porsche top. I am not. I'm not as cool and part of the gang. But, you know, obviously I have been paying attention to this season. We have seen that Sebi Joe's been absolutely dominant in the pro category. Think that's going to continue here today after a questionable round yesterday?
I mean, the thing is, we need somebody to step up and make a consistent challenge to him. I think that's what we need to see now. We saw how well Graham Carroll did last time out at Oakland Park. With his qualifying and getting that first race win. But Luke McEwen, I think with him in second place in the championship, he needs to step up and he's been good at sitting behind Seb in a race 1 and putting the pressure on him. He needs to start making those moves and getting past him.
Yeah, exactly. You know, obviously we've not got that long after this, so kind of like that pressure is building. This marks the second half of the season, doesn't it? So if someone is going to mount a challenge, it really does need to start now, right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Now is the time to do that and to put the pressure on people who are leading championships. Not so much so in the AM Championship because Luke Pennington, I think, has already got one hand on that trophy, but you never say never in this series.
No, absolutely not. We'll take a look at the event schedule. You can see the points at the bottom, of course. 12 for the victory in race 1, 10 for the victory in race 2, but of course there are those 2 bonus points for pole position in each of the classes. Open qualifying will be starting around about now, of course, then with 2 races. That top 6 being reversed for the second race always causes its fair share of excitement throughout the season, and it's created quite the championship standings, Paul.
Certainly has, yeah. Sebastian Job, he's got quite the lead now, 72 of 58 over Luke McEwen. It was, even though it wasn't an ideal qualifying for Sebastian last time out at Oulton Park, he was able to get himself some good solid points to go into that, and he only lost 1 point in the championship lead at the end of the day, so it was a good sort of damage limitation for him. Graham Carroll had a great day last time out in Cheshire, Peter Berryman, I think he'll be wanting to push on and try and move forward along with Will Chadwick and the rest of them there.
Yeah, whilst things are fairly close now, battle, sort of second and third behind, and they still have that chance of catching Sebastian Job in the pro standings. In the AM standings, slightly less close. Luke Pennington been absolutely dominant, forced to be reckoned with thus far in the championship, taking a whole heap of victories and pulling out a comfortable margin on Scott Mokes. That said, things can change, especially when you come to a circuit like this, so don't necessarily count them out. For those behind, though, I think for Dan Martin, for Dylan Platt, for Crofton Wood, the gaps are maybe slightly too large, and they're focused on the fights between each other rather than anything else. Take a look at the series schedule, of course, because, like I said, it is halfway through the season. Dun Silverstone National, Donington National, Snetterton, and, of course, Alton Park. But we are here at Mount Panorama before we return to the United Kingdom and go to Knock Hill, ending the season with Donington Park and Brands Hatch. Good. I mean, let's be honest, I do like myself a little bit all three of those tracks. And to be fair, all of them in this season.
I like Knock Hill because it is just like the wild card in the schedule, and I think it can produce some really wild racing and some drama as well. Another undulating track, much like this one, although this one on a much larger scale. You're literally climbing up a mountain here. But Mount Panorama, difficult for qualifying here because they have only got 10 minutes, and when that clock strikes 0, that is it. There's no overrun, there's no overtime. You have to finish your lap by the time it reaches 0, which means that the drivers haven't actually got that many opportunities to set a lap time.
No, if you're going to stay out and do a multiple lap stint, you've got 3 laps. You can see they're coming through the foreground shot. That is Sebastian Job. He does not want to get involved in any of this train, while some drivers are maybe focused on maybe getting the slipstream. Of course, you do kind of need a little bit going up Mountain Straight and down Conrod Straight. Over the top of the mountain, you want clean air ahead. And I do believe it might be Sebastian Job, who's actually just pulled over to one side. So it doesn't really... Interesting, they're not attacking on this first time lap, some of these.
Well, I mean, there's still an element of preparing the tyres and getting the tyres into the right working window. Peter Berryman, he's just cracking on with it. He wants to get on and get a lap time in the books. And do you know what? With how close over the top of the mountain you get to those walls, it's very easy to make a mistake and to give yourself an invalidated lap. It's worth putting a lap time in now, getting a banker in, so that then you can afford to push later on in your stint.
100%. So we'll take a little look over the top with Pete Berryman. So he comes up towards the cutting now before pulling it back over to that left-hand side, finding that second apex. Now up Quarry Corner. Of course, is where things get really narrow as you head your way into Reed Park. Look at how close that wall gets on the left-hand side before you commit going through Frog Hollow up towards Solomon Park and then McPhillamy. This is not as close to the barrier as we'd expect. I think he's setting a bank lap time. If you do graze the barrier, you get yourself a contact 0x. That is the lap done. It will not count as we now drop down the hill at Skyline, down the S's towards the Dipper, fling it back over to the left-hand side. This caused quite a few problems in the Bathurst 12-hour, the iRacing official event that was on a few weeks ago. Of course, now down into Forest Elbow, pull it back over the left-hand side. I find the Elbow arguably the hardest corner of the circuit. That front left just wants to snatch every single time you go through there.
It's not just that, it's also that the car just wants to understeer as well on corner exit into that outside wall, so you've got to be very patient. But you want to get them the power as soon as possible because you're carrying that speed all the way down the Conrod Straight, through the kink here at the right-hand, and then onto the brakes into the chase. And it's all about getting your line right, and Berryman missing the apex a little bit on the left. But to be honest, if it's a banker lap, he's not doing too bad.
I think he just wants to get that time onto the board. Then he can start pushing. Then he can start getting close to those barriers, which you need to do if you're going to set a solid lap time around here. The top time in practice was set by Pete Berryman at a 2-minute 3.4. That was a 2-minute 4.1. So we are expecting them to go much faster in this session, which is not a shock to anyone, let's be honest. Yeah, we are expecting these drivers to go much faster. Interestingly, Berryman backs off of that lap time.
Yeah, so I think that's a case of he's set his banker lap in. He's now just trying to back off, let the tyres cool down a little bit before then attacking again a second time. So I think it's wise tactics from him. Now there's a huge line of cars coming through here, and they've got to be careful of these drivers, because there have been penalties given for drivers not getting out of the way of drivers on fast laps.
Yeah, like I say, it's all a little bit sketchy. There's so many cars. They're trying their best to stay out of the way to make sure that all these drivers that are pushing up and over the top have their own clean bit of space. James Parker, who's done his fair share of coaching and setup building and whatnot, was always. Well, it was assisting me once in the comedy booth with giving me lots of information that, let's be honest, I'm too thick for. He's a smart driver, this guy.
The question is he a quick driver around this Mount Panorama circuit? I mean, he's not got a lap time in yet, has James, so this is him attacking now, and look at it again. He's coming up to cars that have, and this is the Apex Racing Team duo that have had their first lap time. They're just doing their best to get out of the way, and I don't think it compromised James at all on this lap. I think they did get out of the way in time, but it's a distraction that you don't need when you're on a hot lap.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing of like, I think they did absolutely fine to get out of the way. I think, to be fair, I've not seen any major infringements within traffic. The point is, around here, when you're going over the top, the last thing that you want is to come across a slow car, even just as a bit of a distraction. It might just cause you to get out of the throttle a little bit, to not push quite as hard. It'll just linger in your mind, just that tiny little bit. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see if this is going to cost him a little bit on the time. Alex Davidson goes into third position in the number 5 car, and we'll see what James Parker can do down into that final corner. Of course, coming through Murray's, punches it out towards the line. Certainly not going to threaten the top positions of Pete Berriman and the like, but still, a 2-minute 5.7 moves him a little bit into the mid-pack 11th place.
He needs to carry on attacking, though, because this is his last opportunity now. With the time that's left on, there's a lot of drivers that haven't set a noteworthy time because they're leaving it all down to tyre preparation and management of the car to have one opportunity. Now, a few of those drivers are only just getting to Murray's Corner at the end of the circuit, so they're going to be pushing the limits in terms of how much time they have remaining here. They should all get the laps in, but one little mistake from the car at the front of that queue, say you lose it and end up blocking the road, it ruins everyone's lap time.
And like I say, if you brush the wall, if you so much as brush the wall over the top and you get a 0x, your lap time will not count. That is the really important thing to stay on that. So you can't push 110% if you've not set a banker lap time. Some of those that haven't set a banker lap time, let's give you some names. This second in the AM category, Scott Moat. You've got Luke Bennett, who's not done. Will Chadwick, who's not done. A certain Sebastian Job, who's not done. Didn't qualify particularly well at Alton Park. Did not qualify particularly well in the Porsche Esports Super Cup last night. Now he's risking it a little bit.
But if there's ever a driver that, quite frankly, at the moment, him in a Porsche 911 or 992 Cup car, he is just at one with that car at the moment. He is such a good place right now. Alex Davidson running wide. Whether that'll have given him an off-track penalty, I don't know. I think he might have got away with it. Alex, don't forget, he did qualify in the front row at Silverstone, so he has somebody who's got pace, and he does improve his lap time.
Yeah, just not quite the position to go with. It closes right up to the back of McEwen, but that might gain him some positions once we see those other lap times come in from varying drivers. We'll drop back to Pete Berriman, of course, the current driver that is on pole position. A few cars back from him is Sebastian Job as well. So we'll see all of these final lap times come in, see who's going to improve, if anyone can move their way up either onto the front row. Of course, Luke Pennington is currently on the pole position in the AM category, once again completely dominating in that category thus far. What can Pete Berriman do out towards the line? Is there going to be an improvement? He's at 2 minutes 3.4 in practice and does break into the threes. It's a 3.8 from him at the moment.
There we go. Pete Berriman.
Whoa.
Well, he's done what he can. And then second place. And Will Chadwick, with the slipstream from Sebastian Job, gets himself to the top of the standings.
Wow, wow, wow. Excellent lap time there from Chadwick. Still some final ones to come in. Graham Carroll, Luke Bennett and Josh Thompson go first and second now as they move their way up the order. I believe they're one of the final few to come across the line. There is only 3 seconds left to go of this session. A dramatic end here at Bathurst in the Rapper Racing Club Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain, and an excellent pole position from Luke Bennett. More drama for Sebastian Job, though.
Yeah, that's not what Sebastian would have wanted, but to be honest, I don't see it being the end of world for him being in that top 6. This is a track that you can overtake at, so it is somewhere that I think that Sebastian can make some moves forward if he feels he needs to.
Exactly. Do remember about that reverse grid race. We'll take a look at the starting grid. So Luke Bennett and Josh Thompson lock out the front row for Team Redline. Will Chadwick with that excellent lap time, taking the slipstream for Sebastian Job to go 3rd. Job, championship leader, in 4th place. Pete Berry and Luke McEwen make it all Apex Racing on row 3, with Graham Carroll starting from 7th position. Alexander Davidson from 8th. Luke Pennington on the pole position for the AM category started from 9th alongside the Veloce FX driver of Matt Emery, with Jack Sedgwick and Leo Gariboli starting from 12th place. Jamie Moon rolls off of 13th position with Eric Grove, who I saw getting out of the way of his teammate Alexander Davidson on his lap on the last one there. Jacob Toss will start from 15th position, with Dylan Platt starting from 16th. Crofton Woodhatch and James Parker, who we had a little bit of a ride on board with up and over the top there, will have to start from 18th position before we get to the 10th row of the grid, with Dan Martin and Scott Mokes. Adam Cox and Ollie Ettridge will start from 22nd position, with Adam Holloway and Daniel Cofield starting from the penultimate row of the grid. Gareth Higgins starting from the final position as we look and get ready for this race. Paul, what are we expecting in this one? It's, like I say, normally we see dramatic races around Bathurst. Not sure whether we're going to have that big drama on lap 1.
I think it's, and we've talked to Sebastian Job throughout the season, he's really the master of being able to work this Porsche on cold tyres, and that's what's got him those early wins in the season. Whether he can work his way through, I don't know. Maybe he might be happy with sitting behind and then being closer to the reverse grid pole.
If there is ever a circuit, though, where you can go for the double win, this is the circuit to do so. You couldn't really have done it back in Alton Park, so maybe that is the focus now for him. It is Luke Bennett and Josh Thompson starting from the front row of the grid. Bennett on pole position as we get underway here in our international round at Bathurst. It is a great start, of course, from Bennett. A good one from Sebastian Job. Is going to drag himself alongside Will Chadwick, who will hold on to 3rd position. We'll see where the side-by-side happens going through the mid-pack, but at the moment, it's fine.
Bennett has a penalty for a jump start. A black flag for a jump start. I thought I saw his car just lurch forward before everybody else's, so that's going to have huge implications here in this race.
Wow, that is crazy. So Luke Bennett with a lot of drama straight from the off, and that is going to cost him an awful lot. Oh, and into the barrier as well. That is the 74, I believe, of Luke Pennington, the championship leader in the AM category.
Wow, we've had a bit of drama already, haven't we? James Parker off at Hell Corner, now Luke Pennington at Quarry. It's already a bit messy at the start here, but my goodness, we're in for a treat today.
Yeah, that's just, again, crazy, ridiculous. The drama. I said I didn't think we were going to get too much of a dramatic start. Oh, I was wrong. The old classic. Taking a little bit of a look here at the 2 Veloce Vex drivers. Matt Emery working up the order just a little bit, getting ahead of, obviously, Pennington with his drama, and Alexander Davidson. So a little bit of progress for the black and purple, and maybe Veloce Vex be able to sneak a solid result here. Obviously, you want to get inside the top 6, which currently McEwen is the one holding on to, looking for that next race, although they will gain an extra one once, of course, Bennett comes down to the pit lane.
Oh, there's a car. That's Davidson. Alex Davidson, after having a relatively okay qualifying, he's found the wall at Forest Elbow. Now, my question that I was going to be thinking of is, Luke Bennett, does he do Josh Thompson a favour here, let Thompson pass, and then hold everyone else up over the top of the mountain to try and get Josh the win, knowing that he has a black flag? Or is he doing what he does now and just get the hammer down and try and serve that penalty as quickly as possible?
Yeah, I think he might be thinking a bit in and of himself at the moment, but we'll have to wait and see. He's actually come straight into serve it, has Luke Bennett. Saw that off moment there from Pete Berryman to dropping back behind Graham Carroll and Matt Emery now as they were going through the chase. First lap complete. Thompson is leading from Sebastian Job, Will Chadwick, McEwen, Carroll, Emery, and of course you can see the order being changed around a lot there because Pete Berryman's lost out to Gariboli as well, and of course it's Luke Bennett in the pit lane.
Scott Mokes leading the AM. That's crucial for Scott. He needs those points over Luke Pennington to try and hold any hope of trying to challenge Luke. But we saw last week how Luke, he fell to the back of the field in the first race, and he still managed to come through and challenge for a win in AM in that first race. So Luke has got a lot of pace. Don't count him out of this one, although it did look like his car did have a bit of damage to it.
It's got a lot of damage to the rear end, does Pennington's car. We'll see what happened, though, of course, to the WSR car. And unfortunately, that was a big moment from Davidson, and it does look as though it was completely solo. It's rough.
It is. No, it's a Porsche.
It was a Porsche. That's nice. That's a good... Honestly, that actually took me a second then.
But no, I mean, it looked like he got it all crossed up and on the brakes, and there was no stopping that car at all. Yeah, it did look like a solo effort. But my goodness, Thompson and Job, they rocketed away from the rest of the field here. Will Chadwick seems to be a little bit of the cork in the bottle at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Chadwick might have even been a little bit shocked by his qualifying. I asked him a little bit earlier, I said, are you going to win the race? And he said, oh, no, don't count me. So we'll never know. He's not got too much confidence in himself, but clearly is running very well round here. As a look to the outside comes the two-time British Formula 4 Esports champion, Luke McEwen, straight down the inside and into third position with a beautiful move. Holds it up and doesn't run wide like his teammate did on the previous lap. And now maybe Chadwick might be under fire from Graham Carroll.
Oh, yeah, Chadwick's just feeling a little bit under the pressure now. Did pull out a heck of a lap time, I must say, to put himself ahead of Sebastian Job. He was using the draft of Sebastian Job to help him with that, but hey, it's an open qualifying session, you do what you like. But now, when it comes to race pace, it's whether Will takes that little bit of time to get into the swing of things and to get the tyres up to temperature and pressure. But you look at that, Sebastian Job already to the front of the field. He's made the move on Josh Thompson. It's a question now, can Thompson hang with Sebastian, given how good Sebastian's been in this car?
I've seen some excellent drives, though, from Thompson. I was actually, I'm going to be completely open about this on broadcast. When Josh Thompson signed for Team Red Bull, I remember being a little bit, I wouldn't say critical, but I questioned it quite a bit. He's settled into that team like an absolute dream. Let's see then what happened to our champion in the AM category, Pennington into the barrier. He was definitely escorted into it, and you can see all that damage on the rear end.
I wonder if that was Eric Grove who tagged with him. It was another one of the WSR cars that made contact. I don't know, but Sebastian's... I said he's talked about it in our interviews with him. He just seems to have that knack of getting the cold tyres working well, and he's got the hammer down and he's going for it. And why wouldn't you? He's doing a damn good job of it.
To confirm, by the way, it was actually Alexander Davidson. It was the number 5 car that made that contact. So, I mean, right team, but just like I say, maybe getting a little bit bold going in there. I mean, I'm not gonna make a judgment on that one because I'm not in race control. That's that. Yeah, you've been down that road. So maybe we'll drop an opinion down to the Paul Smith question booth in a few moments' time. We'll see if Will Chadwick is going to lose the position to Graham Carroll. A little bit of a brush between the pair of them going into the chase, and now spread around the outside. There's even more contact.
Oh, it was all getting a little bit too squeezy there, and I don't think it was a hug that Graham Carroll appreciated there, and down he goes. Did well to hold on to that, but Jacob Toff is trying to take advantage of the situation, but that's Carroll all the way down to 11th now from 5th.
And the chance of him getting back inside the top 6, which obviously quite a lot of these drivers are focused on at the moment, is starting to maybe slip through his fingers. Although that said, with the amount of drivers we've had in the opening, 6.5 minutes, let's not rule that opportunity out, especially if Will Chadwick is going to be this cork in the bottle, so to speak. We'll take a look at a replay as to how Sebastian Job took over the race lead from Josh Thompson. Nice and easy down into the chase is exactly what you want. As by the way, I'm just seeing that there has been a crash with Matt Emery and Will Chadwick. Yeah,
there's Emery and Chadwick recovering from that. So, drama. Quarry Corner seems to have a Porsche magnet attached to it right now. Pretty much every lap there's been cars heading into that tyre barrier on the outside. This time, Chadwick and Emery, and I think Graham Carroll will have gone past and given a cheeky little wave to Will as he went past him up into 9th.
Yeah, exactly. This is where, like I'm saying, for drivers like Graham Carroll who've been sent down the road, yeah, sure, it might be a little bit frustrating. Let's see what happened here then, actually. So Chadwick's taking the defensive line. Yeesh. I don't know if that's Emery going for a gap that wasn't there, or Chadwick maybe closing the door a little bit too aggressively going down into Griffin's Bend.
I think maybe that Chadwick is a little bit too late. recognising that Emery had a nose in there and not given the space, and ended up with the inevitable happening.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning the same way. I think Matt Emery might have been a little bit aggressive there, but at the same time, I just think that the closing of the door was potentially a little bit too late. Here's Graham Carroll, though, making a move on Jamie Moon. So he'll be working his way up into 8th position. Meanwhile, Pete Berryman and Jack Sedgwick switch over the positions for 4th as well. So we're getting quite a few moves, of course, going down Conrod into the chase. And it is Graham Carroll working his way back forwards. It's going to be even more, though, as Jack Sedgwick is backwards.
Well, is anybody wanting to actually keep this car on the asphalt here? This is craziness. It's not bumper cars. It's murder racing here, and well, I have a funny feeling that. Oh yeah, he was helped.
Graboli. Just a little bit of contact there on the inside of the chase. You could maybe say that there was a bit of a squeeze in there, but also, you know, again, potato. No idea on that one. Either way, it is yet another instant, yet another position for Graham Carroll to have picked up. One more, and he's back inside that top 6.
Do you know what? Don't count him out getting past Eric Grove either for Graham Carroll. He could be on for a reverse grid pole position. Scotty Merckx loses a place to Gareth Higgins, but that's okay for Scott. He doesn't need to worry about that in the Olympus Esports. Very colourful, the white, yellow, pink, blue. It's fantastic, is that livery. Daniel Martin, who's joint third in the AM Championship, in 2nd right now, ahead of Dylan Platt, who's joint in that 3rd place. So it's important for those AMs, but lurking behind the both of Platt and Martin is a certain Luke Pennington. I told you he'd be back.
Yep, certainly so. And speaking of Luke's and being back, I don't know if you've noticed someone who's popped back onto our tower towards the back end. Well, Mr. Luke Bennett. He's up into 15th position. The Team Redline driver is absolutely flying up to the rear of the field. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think he's going to be looking to get inside the top 6 in this race, but the amount of progress that he's made after, remember, he has been into the pit lane for a drive-through for a false start, which you don't typically see that often. But having a bit of a mistake, being caught out by it. The fact that he's flying up the order like this is crazy.
See, I've always been of the opinion of, if you make a little bit of a bobble at the start, just keep the foot down and just go, because you know you're already going to get a penalty. You might as well try and minimise the penalty as much as possible. I saw that in a Ute race,
Super Ute race at Phillip Island.
At Phillip Island, yes.
Yes, indeed. I think like the lights came on and he just took off.
Yes.
Very good. Comedy gold. But no, you're absolutely right. If you're going to have that scenario, you're better off just going with it. The penalty is basically, it's going to be the same. So you might as well just commit.
Yeah. And now, Graham Carroll, he's making a move on Eric Grove. This is important because that is, remember, 6th place is an inverted pole position for race number 2. So Graham Carroll getting himself into the pound seat right now.
Yeah, indeed. Fantastic scenes there for Graham Carroll. Obviously, wouldn't have been particularly happy when he got escorted off the road courtesy of that incident with Will Chadwick, but now finds himself back inside that top 6 for the next race, getting that reverse grid pole at the moment with his current position. We'll have to wait and see on that one. I've got to say, Eric Grove's done a great job at the start of the race, going from 14th to what is now 7th, so has gone up a lot of positions. I think mostly because of everyone else's dramas, to be perfectly honest, rather than making any audacious sense, as we can see them commit once again up towards McPhillamy. This is the time when Graham Carroll needs to pull out that gap, because the slipstream coming down the Conrod Straight and then going back up the mountain straight, that's what's going to keep you in tow, and that's what's kind of keeping Josh Thompson on the rear end of Sebastian Joe.
Josh is just losing the back of Joe at the front. You can see it on that timing tower on the left-hand side. There is Sebastian behind the wheel of his Porsche in that Oracle Red Bull sim racing outfit.
How's McEwen rejoined this battle?
He has been putting in some laps. In fact, Luke McEwen's last lap was a 2:04.4 compared to 2:04.8 and 2:04.7 for the two at the front of the field. So McEwen has been putting in just lap after lap. His fastest lap is half a second quicker than Sebastian Jobs.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you there, Paul. I thought there was a back marker with him, and I was like, oh, who's that? And I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's McEwen. How's he done that? Yeah, absolutely flying. I mean, look, we all know that Luke McEwen's a fantastic driver, but wow, did he show? Because I thought that Sebastian Job and Josh Thompson, they were gone. The win was between those two. It was set, it was sorted, and Luke McEwen says, "No, mate, hang on a sec. Let me show you what I've got." Wow.
Yeah. Now the question is, as the immortal and great Murray Walker used to say, catching is one thing, passing is quite another. The slipstream is strong down that Conrod Straight and up here up Mountain Straight as well, it must be said, as Chadwick is still carrying on this everlasting battle with Matt Emery. The two of them can't be separated. But McEwen, I do think that he needs to start making overtakes and getting past Sebastian to have any hope of challenging him.
Yeah, exactly. If he wants to go after the title race, then it is kind of now. Although I will say, it's a very different championship, fair enough. But in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship, he looked like he had a really a poor start to the season. He was really struggling to get into his rhythm. In the second half of the season, he was a very, very different driver. And was able to use that to capitalise and challenge. And that's why I'm saying I think like Luke McEwen right now, the fact that he's remained in relative distance of Sebastian Job. This title fight ain't it's not done yet, right? Ain't done yet. And Sebastian Job will know that more so than anyone else as well. Like, yeah, he's been on the receiving end of it. Yeah, he's been on both sides. So he'll be aware of the threat that is Luke McEwen, and races like this can really start to turn things around.
They certainly can, and it only takes one bad result. It only takes one bad week to turn things around here in this series. We've seen it before. We have seen how in this championship back in 2022, it all came down to a final race between Job and Kevin Ellis Jr. as there's a bit more rubbing and banging of doors between Chadwick and Emery. I think it's a good job it's a virtual paddock that they're in right now, because I think they'd be, after this race, having fisticuffs.
But there's not long between this race and the next one, so there might still be even more of this to be dealt with on circuit, especially if they start on the same part of the circuit, which they would be at the moment. Obviously, they are being joined in this fight. Gareth Higgins involved in it, as well as Scott Mokes, who probably doesn't really care that much about what's happening between this group, because he's more focused on the AM battle. As going out wide there, I believe that was indeed Higgins, and now knocking at the door is going to be Luke Bennett to try and sneak his way past. We've got some battling in the foreground as well. Jamie Moon defending from Tofts.
Yeah, there's action all over, and fair credit to Scott Mokes. He realises that he's not of the pace of Luke Bennett, as look behind Sebastian Job, Josh Thompson and Luke McEwen, they're at each other. This is where Job needs to get the hammer down and try and get a gap to try and break that slipstream when they get to the Conrod Straight. Josh Thompson is holding up Luke McEwen here. Is well entitled to do so as well, because this is for position.
Yeah, maybe one awkward look then from McEwen, and it's kind of just slowed the pair of them down. The gap grows to around about a second, and so maybe he wants to just back off, allow Thompson to try and close back up to Sebastian Job. I don't believe there's any tactic game in this from Josh Thompson to maybe assist Sebastian Job to run away. There is just a flat-out fight between Josh Thompson and Luke McEwen. We head back out onto the Conrod Straight. You've got to make it stick coming down to the chase, surely.
And look, Josh is holding the middle of the road. He's making Luke McEwen choose which side. Luke's gone, okay, I'll go outside then through the is he going to get it done before they actually reach the kink here, the right-hander? No, they're still going to be side by side. You can see them on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And Luke McEwen gets the job done, but this is where you can get a cutback. Josh Thompson, he's not quite got the nose there, so McEwen is going to go very defensive now into Murray's.
So good, though. So good driving between the pair of them, and Josh Thompson's going to try and commit to the outside. It's cost him a whole heap of time, and Sebastian Job goes from leading by 1.2 seconds to leading by 2.2 seconds. He has flown away, courtesy of the fight between Luke McEwen and Josh Thompson. It was fantastic to see, but it's not conducive to good lap times. We've got 8 minutes left to go in this race. Should end up being then 4 laps, courtesy of how long it takes to get around here. And we'll see if Josh Thompson's able to fight something back in this. Maybe Pete Berryman's going to close in. You can see Josh Thompson going one way, then back the other. Luke McEwen with the defensive line all the way up into Griffin's Bend. And now, weirdly enough, this is the point where they can have a little bit of a breather, which is attacking the mountain, but they know they're not under pressure.
Well, apart from the pressure of not hitting a concrete wall, yes, it's if McEwen, he's got the pace over the top of the mountain. I think that's where he's had a little bit more of an advantage. Now, people at home, you might be thinking, oh, well, he must have a better setup. No, they've all got the same setup. The only thing that could change on this car is the brake bias. That's it. So everyone's got the exact same car. It's behind the person behind the wheel as to how they control it. And I tell you what, Luke McEwen is in the zone right now.
Love a fixed setup race. Absolutely love a fixed setup race. Everything's equal. Like I say, and the brake bias, whilst there are some things you can do with it, you know, to do sort of like one brake bias might be considered faster than the other. The reason why brake bias is always open is because that's generally a driver preference type thing. It's always the first thing whenever I get a setup sent to me from another driver. First thing I change is the brake bias. It's always because the way you drive a car, the way that you're either trail braking or whatever is different to how everyone else. That's why that bit's open. But everything else is about what you can do in the car at the moment. Sebastian Jobe, I was going to say, I mean, is he the fastest at the moment? I'd say from what I've seen in this race, maybe Luke McEwen is the fastest. It's just courtesy of that battle. Sebastian Jobe's got that mega gap.
I think in terms of race pace, Sebastian just has that consistency. Yeah. He just has that down to a T. Luke McEwen, though, is in a good place himself. I mean, he got pole position yesterday in the Porsche Esports Super Cup. So he's had a lot of seat time in this car over the last week or so. He knows what it takes. He won't have put that much practice in, neither will Sebastian for today. They'll have been jumping in this morning and saying, right, let's get a bit of practice in around here. As Thompson, again, showing his nose. I think Thompson might be a case of putting all his eggs into this one basket in this series, because his past series season so far has just been, he'll be honest himself and say it's been abysmal.
Yeah. Which happens, let's be honest.
Yes.
It does happen sometimes. But the ability to, you know, when you're running multiple championships, the ability to refocus on a different championship, where for the most part, you are battling with quite a lot of the same people, by the way. So it's just as strong. But again, to just kind of refocus, reapply yourself, maybe it can make you turn things around elsewhere. It can boost that confidence. And right now, I say Josh Thompson is going very strongly. I'm not sure he's got the pace to repass McEwen in all of this. To speak of other gaps as well on the grid, and the important ones for the next race, Graham Carroll has pulled out a nearly 2-second gap to Eric Groves. So the fight for that final position inside the top 6, and of course that reverse grid for the next race, is seemingly over.
Luke Bennett, look at where he is. He's got himself back up to 11th in this race after his drive-through penalty. And we know he's the fastest in terms of qualifying with his lap time that he put in. He's right behind Matt Emery, who of course will be having a little bit of damage from his contact with Will Chadwick earlier on. Jacob Tofts, Jamie Mune, Eric Grove, they're all together. So Luke, as he makes a move there on Matt Emery to the outside of the chase, Luke Bennett could find himself as, oh, no, he can't.
No, he cannot. Just overdriving it a little bit there. I'm not sure if there might have even been a little bit of air between them, maybe a little bit of a neck. I don't believe it. I think it was just overdriving from Bennett, if I'm honest. I think he just dropped the rear a touch, got it back on the road. Didn't lose out too much, just a single position, but it's all that progress. Now he's going to have to make it again. 1.5 seconds between the back of Matt Emery now, and only realistically a couple of laps to do it. I think it will be 2 laps. It's going to be quite tight, but I do believe it's just the 2 laps.
Yeah, I make it to be about 2 laps as well myself, so watch it, we'll both get it wrong.
Well, the reason why we say that is the last lap time for Sebastian Jobe was a 2-minute 4.6. When he crossed the line, there was... Jamie Moon! Jamie Moon's had a big one. Where has he gone?
Well, he's dropping down the order. He's behind Jack Sedgwick now in 14th, and that, again, was at Quarry Corner. 2 into 1 doesn't go, and he's turning in when Tofts is alongside.
Yeah, Tofts was there. Maybe just misjudged it a little bit. Tofts might have caught a little bit of a bump, but you've got to give a little bit more room going into turn 2. But yeah, so either way, Jamie Moon into the barrier and out. As I was going to go back to my point, Sebastian Jobe had, it was 4 minutes 8 seconds when he crossed the line. So at 2 minutes 4.6, realistically, we'll be crossing the line about a second after the checkered flag will be deployed. So hopefully we've not got Jezza holding the checkered flag for this, because it might be a little bit too late.
Yeah, fortunately, I think Barney is a strict straight edge flagman in iRacing. Although sometimes he has been known to put out the flag a lap too late. But there we go. Sebastian, there he is on screen, and he's looking around, he's just checking things, he's making sure he knows exactly where drivers are, and he knows that he's got that gap there. The last thing you want to do, and I know this from personal experiences, we are one more lap to go here in this race. I know from personal experience, because I've been fortunate enough to win a race here at Mount Panorama in a touring car series. You do not take it easy at all if you've got a big gap, because you will make a mistake and you will hit the wall. Fortunately, I didn't hit the wall when I backed off, and then I quickly went, nope, I need to go full speed again.
Yeah, Matt Emery there with a great move on Toft. You're absolutely right. If you go for the, I'm going to turn it down a little bit, you get knocked out of the rhythm. And this circuit, yes, sure, you're out of the rhythm on the Comrade Straight and then the Mountain Straight. But as soon as you get into Griffin's Bend at T2, you need to be back in that rhythm. It needs to be pushed hard. You need to be close to the barrier because that's what you practice. That's what you've got used to. Obviously, Sebastian Jobe's not going to take any extra margin around here than what he needs to. So we'll just be pushing as hard as he can. But that's not where we're talking about the battles. We've got so many down the order. Like we say, here's Tofts with the pressure from Bennett, who might try and get past immediately. Surely not over the top.
Never say never with Luke Bennett. He is a rapid driver, and I think he'll be in a bit of a foul mood with himself after making that mistake right at the start. It was just a little bobble. That's all it takes to register a false start. But Luke right now, he is pushing Tofts all the way to the end. But I will say, and I've said this with David Addison as well, best livery on the grid is Jacob Tofts, the Duckham's livery.
Really?
Yeah.
It is good. It's good.
It's a livery of my childhood.
That is true. I still think Mokes might take it. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, that is a good one. Absolutely.
Just because I love colour. Absolutely love colour. We'll see if there's going to be any moves going down into the chase on the Cromwell. Surely there's going to be one or two. Maybe Luke Bennett might sneak his way past Toft. But obviously we have to keep our eye on Sebastian Jobe, who's coming down into the final corner now. Of course, looking to take yet another victory. It's his fourth one in the opening race of an evening. His fifth one in totality in the championship thus far. And it is another win for Sebastian Jobe. And look at how calm he is as he crosses the line to take another one. Didn't have it from pole position this time, so we'll just have to settle for the 12 points. McEwen showing a lot of pace in this race. Might be throwing some questions towards the red line contingent for the next race.
Yeah, he really did do a good job. Speaking of good jobs, Scott Merckx, Olympus Esports, second place in the AM Championship. That's exactly what he needed, because Luke Pennington, after his issues on lap 1, dropped down to 16th, third place in class. So, yeah, Luke Pennington, not good going for him, but Scotty Merckx will be delighted with that.
Yeah, but the fact that Pennington was in the barrier as hard as he was and still was able to recover to the position that he's in, right, and is looking strong for the last one. I mean, you were saying basically the same thing kind of happened at Alton Park with the opening struggles. It is what it is. We'll take a look at the results from the AM category. So Mokes taking that victory from Dan Martin. And to be fair, Pennington was only a few tenths behind, taking over second position within the category. Dylan Platt, Adam Cox, and James Parker and the likes, as we'll see into the pro category. Sebastian Jobe taking victory yet again this season with McEwen and Josh Thompson showing some great form in that race. Pete Berryman, Garibaldi and Graham Carroll will be the 6 that get reversed in this one. Got to give a big shout out to the recovery drive though of Luke Bennett. Drive through after jumping the race start into 10th position. Absolutely incredible, and set the fastest lap in doing so. Saw plenty of battles up and down. Obviously Will Chadwick was in the barrier quite a few times with a certain Veloce Vex drivers. See if he might have to do the same in the next race. Jack Sedgwick was backwards despite showing some great pace going through the chase. Lots of talking points from this one.
Certainly is, and I think one of the main talking points for us to touch on is survival. Yeah. Those who did a good job of just, of being able to go well, to start well. I mean, I look at Garibaldi, started 12th, finished 5th in the end. A lot of that was just other people falling by the wayside. So it is a big thing here at this venue to be able to keep it on the track and keep it out the walls. And for those that did, they reaped the benefits.
Yeah, I mean, look, I love this track. I've always said it time and time again that I do really enjoy racing around it, whether it is in a 12-hour endurance race or whether it is in a sprint race. Effectively, the same strategy applies for both. It is all about keeping out of the barriers, keeping out of danger. Now, we saw quite a lot of issues and drama, obviously, down into turn 2, Griffin's Bend, Quarry Bend, whatever you want to call it, but down to turn 2. What do you think was the main cause for that?
I think it was a little bit of desperation, a little bit of sticking a nose in some cases, a little bit of not the greatest awareness and just taking your normal line, and all of a sudden, oh, why am I facing the wrong way? It was the car on the inside of me. So there was a mixture of different incidents that happened there at that second turn, and it is one of the main overtaking opportunities. And if you feel that you are quicker than that car in front of you, you want to get that move done by them, because pretty much over the top of the mountain, you've no hope of getting past, and you're losing a chunk of time being stuck behind somebody.
Yeah, every single lap you do that. It can be frustrating to watch that time kind of disappear. Obviously, we saw some great pace in that race from the likes of McEwen, from Graham Carroll on that recovery drive to get up inside the top 6. Obviously, he's going to be starting from reverse grid pole position. Chance of him taking a victory in this one?
I think the chance is very good for Graham. I think he's going to have a great opportunity from pole position. Luke Bennett is going to be starting from 10th place. He's shown the pace, and we saw how people were able to move through the field. I just think 10th is a bit too far back to be starting from. Again, it's all about survival and those drivers getting out there, putting the effort in, and to try and make moves cleanly. Because I think the stewards might be a bit busy after tonight.
Oh yeah. We had a lot to deal with in the first race. I'm sure it is going to be a lot to deal with in the second race as well. This is where you get that reverse grid. Just 6 cars, fair enough, but it's where it is going to cause its fair share of drama. We'll take a look at the starting grid for the second race of the evening. Graham Carroll starting it from pole position. Gariboli alongside after that effort of working his way up the order in the previous race. Pete Berryman starting from 3rd, with Josh Thompson on the podium in the previous race starting from 4th. Luke McEwen couldn't quite chase down Sebastian Jobe as he took yet another victory in the championship. Eric Grove did a lot of progress in the opening stages, up to 5th position, as if I remember correctly, before dropping down the order to 7th. Matt Emery, Jacob Toft, Luke Bennett had pole position here. Now going to start off from 10th place with Will Chadwick and Scott Mokes, the AM winner. Obviously starting from 12th place. Jack Sedgwick, one of those drivers that was backwards, and to be fair, you can apply that to many of the drivers back here. Jamie Moon late in the race up into the barrier, going into Griffin's Bend with Dan Martin, Luke Pennington, Gareth Higgins, Dylan Platt in 18th position, before we get Adam Cox, James Parker, Adam Holloway, of course, Ollie Ettridge, Dan Caulfield, Crofton Woodhatch, and just the single final other position of Mr. Davidson at the back of the field. Drama on the very first lap, trying to avoid that as best he can in this one. Prediction for a race victory, Paul. I'm going to chuck this one out to you. Don't worry, I'll answer as well.
I as much as I think Graham Carroll is going to have a good shout of a race win, don't write out Pete Berryman here in this one, starting on the second row of the grid. He's shown some good pace around here, and if he's like his teammate, he's got a good opportunity here.
If there's any circuit to see the double, this is it. Sebastian Jobe could well be on the verge of that, but I'm not going to pick him. I am going to go for the driver who was extremely fast in the previous race. He closed down a gap that we thought was impossible to do, so I'm going to go with Luke McEwen. But we'll have to wait and see. Of course, the second race about to get underway here at Mount Panorama. Of course, the Rafa Racing Club Porsche Esports Carrera Cup, Great Britain, as they get themselves ready on the grid. 25 more minutes onto the clock, more points onto the table before we return to the United Kingdom. Let's get one more underway at Bathurst. Of course, it's Graham Carroll on the pole position. It's Gariboli alongside on that front row, and a much better start from his teammate Pete Berryman, who was looking down the inside of the first corner and was unable to do so. The top lot are clean, but it was in the background where all the drama was in the previous race. This time, though, it does look like it's much cleaner. Well, cancel that one, as there is someone backwards and even more as well.
Gareth Higgins and Adam Holloway both involved in that one, both facing the wrong way in the wall, so they've had issues out there. Luke McEwen and Sebastian Job, though, I think they're going to be pretty much at loggerheads as they're heading up towards the cutting for the first time.
Yeah, they were a bit side by side between the pair of them going down into Griffin's Bend, but it was Luke McEwen who came out on top of that one. Obviously, plenty of side by side looks as they work their way through Griffin's Bend, but at the moment, everything is kind of set and stationary between the top groupings, and Graham Carroll is surviving for now. He's building a gap, and I think this is the point. If Graham Carroll wants to win this race, he has to build the gap for Gariboli now and hope that Gariboli goes defensive. One of the Veloce Vex cars there heavily into the barrier. I think it was Matt Emery.
Well, it'll have to be Matt Emery because Graham Carroll's at the front of the field. So, yeah, Emery into the wall there. Glancing blur, whether he gets away with it. If he had any steering lock on, he might not have got away with that one.
Yeah, exactly. I think the car looks okay to me right now, the way it's kind of moving. He hasn't lost out much more time than that contact, but you can see the gap growing between himself and Sebastian Job. Pennington up past Jamie Moon as well, so more progress, and there is going to be a battle for the AM lead between Pennington and Motes.
Yeah, going down the Conrod straight then, everybody just starting to get a little bit strung out here, although too wide. That's Jacob Tofts and Will Chadwick in the background. A shot, there they are, and Chadwick's made his way past Jacob as to the front of the field now. Look at that, Gariboli still ahead of Peter Berryman, so the two Apex Racing Team drivers working together to try and keep the pressure on Graham Carroll.
Yeah, I mean, within this top six grouping, of course, as we'll see, we'll come back to that in a second, because Tofts is defending from Jack Sedgwick, trying to get around the outside, and then you've got that AM battle for the race victory. Look at this up ahead, the defensive line coming in from Josh Thompson, trying to keep McEwen at bay. Bennett works his way up into 8th position, as we'll see Will Chadwick, Willie C getting down the inside there as well, trying to work his way up the order. Again, just fantastic battles, and Pennington has got through into the AM lead.
Yeah, that's important for Luke to be able to get that move done on Scott and to be able to get ahead. Luke will be hoping for Jamie Moon to make a move on Scott and to try and get a car between them. And, Scott's not the best line through that second turn, and this is the opportunity for Moon, and he's decided to back out of it.
Did not fight that one bit. Obviously taking victory in the first race. Great stuff for Mokes, and maybe wants to just kind of hold station with it. Alex Davidson, by the way, up from the rear of the field to 16th position in that very first lap. So that's been a very impressive run from the WSR car. I was going to say, with that top grouping, though, as we return to it, you've got 3 Apex cars in this, do you remember? Of course, you've got Gariboli, you've got Pete Berryman, and you've got Luke McEwen. You've got 2 effectively from the red line camp, being Josh Thompson and Sebastian Job, of course, more on the Red Bull racing side, but still all the same. And then Graham Carroll leading it, representing Veloce.
Leo Gariboli, it's great to see our AM Championship winner having a good round, AM Championship winner from last year, having a good round here. Don't forget, top 5 in the first race. They're now started second place. He's hunting the slipstream of Graham Carroll, but now he's got Peter Berryman coming to his outside.
Yeah, Pete Berryman's going to get there, going to commit to it, and there is no fighting between the pair. Definitely a lift from the Apex Academy car, so allowing Pete Berryman to get through. The gap remains 7 to 8 tenths of a second, and so it might well be that Pete Berryman's going to be able to close back down on Graham Carroll, and will certainly fancy closing his way down on the Scotsman at the front of the field, as we'll see our race 1 winner, Sebastian Job, not made any progress in the opening 2 laps of proceedings, which is kind of what we've seen quite a lot in the championship thus far.
Yeah, and it's been, wherever Sebastian has won the first race, it's been very much a difficult round for him to try and move through and get up into that lead again for the second race, although he did try his best at Snetterton, it must be said. Last time at Alton Park, he switched it round, wasn't able to move through in race 1 and then won race 2. So he tried a different thing last time out, and seems he likes doing the winning in first race because it's worth more points.
Gariboli defending a lot here. There's the big send from Josh Thompson. Goes for the up and under. Fantastic move then from Thompson. There's going to be side by side up towards the quarry bend as they work their way now deeper section of the mountain. And a big one there. And Luke McEwen's round, as well as Sebastian Job. They've gone for a big load of drama, and this is huge for the championship. So many drivers involved in that. Yes, there is the likes of Bennett, of Thompson, of Sebastian Job, of Luke McEwen, the top 2 in the championship involved. huge moment for Pete Berryman in this title race.
Will Chadwick was off as well. I can tell you Matt Emery and Josh Thompson have both got mechanical meatball warning flags, so they're going to be heading to pit road. But that was a huge incident, and it was all from Josh Thompson just going out into the wall that kicked it all off. How on earth has Sebastian Job been able to hang on to his place in all of that?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a very broken car. A very, very broken car indeed. I don't think it's not broken enough where he's going to have to return into pit lane as here comes a look down the inside. Pete Berryman taking over the race lead in the chase. They've got no idea the level of drama that's happened behind them. I'm pretty sure both Matt Emery would have told Graham Carroll and Luke McEwen would have informed Pete Berryman that there has been a lot that's gone on in this race. But realistically, in their battle, they're completely unawares as to the huge level of drama that's been caused behind. That was one of the larger crashes that I've seen at Bathurst.
And that is why you don't usually make a move at the cutting and then carry it on out through the rest of that, because you generally end up with a big accident, because you can't really go side by side through there. Fair credit to Garibaldi, he was leaving the space. He did leave the space there. It was a little bit of a squeeze, but there was a car's width from what we saw there. So yeah, it's all about the recovery now. Sebastian Job's car, I mean, you said it does look damaged, but Luke Bennett, well, what a race it's been for Luke to work his way through the field.
Yeah, could maybe sneak himself a podium in this one, which would be an excellent effort, but I think the chance of race victory might have gone courtesy of that very large gap. I have seen moves going into the cutting. Yeah, obviously we saw it in the iRacing Bathurst 12-hour. I think it was Alex Dunn that made a move on one of the BS competition cars late in the race, the Irishman, who did show that it is possible to have done so. And congratulations to a decent weekend, by the way, in his opening weekend in Formula 3. But in this scenario, it's okay if you make a move into the cutting, provided you're not really side-by-side out of it. And that's the problem, is they were trying to go side-by-side over the top of the mountain, which I've seen very few times. I think the last time I saw it, it was Shane van Gisbergen making a move around the top of the mountain in the pouring rain on slick tyres.
Yeah, but SVG, I mean, what doesn't he know about this track? Yes, he definitely, that's one driver that I would think, yeah, he's okay to do it. Yeah, in the conditions, which, by the way, we will be getting in the following weeks. You'll be able to try it yourself at home.
Very much so. I can show you how good of a wet weather driver I am, and Luke Bennett can show us how good of a wet weather driver he is, because he's showing himself in the dry well enough, making that move on Sebastian Job. Might all be one coming on Eric Grove here as well. Luke Bennett working his way up the order. Might be two for the price of one as he works his way down the inside into the final corner at Murray's, and it'll be Luke Bennett started this race, or started the round rather, from pole position before getting a jump start, and now drags his teammate through as well. Sebastian Job working his way past Eric Grove as well, looking down the inside going into Hell Corner, backs out of it just a touch, basically onto the nose of Eric Grove, and Will Chadwick's now knocking at the door for even more positions.
It's the back of Sebastian's car that's really the most damaged. It's that diffuser and that whole rear end, and of course the engine's there at the rear of the car as well. So you've got to be careful here, as Will Chadwick's now making a move on Eric Grove into the bottom of the mountain. Gets that job done. Right, here we go. Here's a replay so we can pass judgment. So Thompson goes into the wall, and it's 3 into 1. Very little, very nice 360 no-scope from Sebastian Job, but it was a punt from Will Chadwick, who had nowhere to go, that's given him that rear end damage.
Yeah, it might have been the 360 no-scope, but he wasn't screaming, "Mum, get the camera." Wow, that was a big moment from Chadwick heading down the hill. There you can see Matt Emery out of the way as well. So, I mean, that initial incident, the thing is, you've got to remember, of course, Thompson is offline there. There's not enough grip. I think there was a little bit of contact between himself and Garibaldi anyway, but I would say it's more like a racing deal between them. And then from the point of Josh Thompson basically being offline, there's not really anything he could do. No. So sadly, despite there being a lot of cars there with an awful lot of damage, a lot of drivers probably very annoyed about the scenario, I think it's a racing incident.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I do think that is just, unfortunately, one of those things that can happen up there over the top of the mountain. There's not a lot of room to move there. There's no runoff at all. So yeah, where can you fully expect Josh Thompson to be able to go in all of that? And the answer to that is nowhere, really.
Yep. Into the wall he goes, and out of the race he goes as well, along with Matt Emery. And like I say, a few drivers. Sebastian Jobe, I've got to say, how lucky he has been. You can see him here. Let's see if his wheel's tracking straight. Yes, it is. So it is basically, it's that rear end damage and probably a lot of tyre wear, let's be honest. We'll see you would have stuffed those quite a lot doing the old 360. But it's just that rear damage. And also the fact that if he's lost any engine power, or he's got more drag on the car courtesy of the damage, well, now he's got his teammate directly ahead. So he can effectively orchestrate this a little bit more to make sure that he's not really attacked too hard from Will Chadwick, who's about a second behind now.
He's looking around at other screens other than his triple monitors, so he's obviously looking at some data or timing data or whatever it is, and he's
watching the broadcast.
Yeah, watching the broadcast and going, "Hey, Mum, I'm on TV." No, he's fully focused, and he is very switched on as Sebastian. I mean, I've seen his rise through sim racing. I raced against him back in 2015. He was an unbelievable driver in a touring car. Get him in a Porsche, he's unbelievable in that. Get him in other things, he's unbelievable in that. He's just an incredible driver. Yeah,
I know Luke Crane, as well as a fair few others, will argue that Sebastian Jobe, at the moment in the world of sim racing, realistically is pound for pound the strongest driver on the planet in sim racing. Now, yes, there's a few others that you can chuck in there. You can chuck your Dara McCormack, you can chuck your Josh Rogers in there. Of course you can. To be fair, even some of the things that I've seen from like Luke McEwen and people like that over the last 12 months, you even make a case for drivers like that. But Sebastian Jobe is just always in the conversation as Gary Brody gets knocked off the podium by Luke McEwen. So now we've got two of the main Apex cars running first and third, and it's the Academy car that's running in fourth. I don't know how you feel about that, whether Sebastian Jobe is the fastest driver on the planet right now, but he's certainly not far away if he's not.
Well, I mean, former iRacing Grand Prix world champions Hugo Luis, who is our producer today, he thinks that Sebastian is one of the best at the moment right now in sim racing. And well, to be honest, he's been around longer than me in sim racing as Hugo, so I'll take his word for it. But yep. I agree. He is just, right now, in this car in particular, in this series and in the Porsche Tagore Esports Super Cup, Sebastian is so comfortable and he's just at one with the car. He is just absolutely incredible in terms of his ability to extract time out of this car. And it's showing time and again, he shows that ability. But he also... his race management, I think that's what he doesn't get enough credit for is his race management as well, and how he can, in the first races, get a bit of a lead on the cold tyres and then just manage it for the rest of the race, or in these reverse grid races, just manage his way through and try and minimise incidents and get as many points as possible. I think that's one of his real strengths right now, other than his pace.
Yeah, what a scoop it was for Redline to have. I actually think that was quite a lot. It wasn't just about Redline picking up the whole Red Bull branding and all that kind of stuff. Remember the Oracle Red Bull Racing team. I think a lot of it was Sebastian Jobe's very good, and this is the easiest way we can get him. It's basically just buying out the team and getting that sponsorship. I wouldn't be surprised he's that good. So, who knows? But at the moment, we'll be struggling a little bit for speed. Drops about a second off of his teammate, but still first and a sixth place here at Bathurst will be pretty handy. Although I do think Luke McEwen's going to be closing down a comfortable margin on that gap for the championship. Yes, it's still going to be pretty healthy for Sebastian Jobe when we return to the United Kingdom, but there's been damage done. Let's put it that way.
Certainly has. And don't forget as well, that next round at Knock Hill, it does throw a spanner in the works. It is a track that can catch people out. I mean, you're just launching the car over the chicane. You're basically asking the gods of racing to do you a favour and make sure you land well. Every lap of the race, exactly. It is one of those tracks that can, just as I say, it's a bit of a wild card track in terms of British motorsport. Having been up there myself last year, what a track. I love that place. It is so good. So good. Yeah, I had the fortune to visit there for the British Touring Car Championship with Cam Roger last year as well. We had a great time watching in the horrendous weather.
But it's a lovely circuit. It's just so very different, much like places like this where they're crazy. They're so different to other race circuits, and they do provide their own fair share of racing like what we're seeing here, as we'll see Eric Grove trying to get past Will Chadwick, Tofts, Sedgwick on his charge back up the field, as well as the AM leader. Surely Pennington's not really going to do anything here. He's just going to sit at the back of his train. But then you've already seen one crash at the top of that mountain. The chance of a second one, it's just as high.
You see, Luke's in a very difficult spot right now, is Mr. Pennington, behind Jack Sedgwick. He's got a gap between himself and Alex Davidson, who's in 12, that he could just drop back that little bit just to give him that little bit of reaction time to if something happens in front. But at the same point, he doesn't want Alex Davidson dragging Scott Merckx along with him to give Scott that opportunity to try and make a move for an AM win again.
It's not an easy scenario. It really is not an easy scenario. He's only got 4 more laps to survive to take a very well-deserved victory after the dramas of the first race. But to be fair, he's in such a dominant position in the championship. I'm pretty sure he's fairly chill anyway with all that. But like I said, there's nothing that can be gained as Crofton Woodhatch gets himself into 3rd position in the AM category, getting past Daniel Martin there on the Conrod Straight. For Pennington to really hammer that one home, there is nothing that he gains from picking up an extra position or two. He's already in the lead of his own category. So at this point, yeah, sure, you can go and have a bit of racing for fun, but I don't think any of those pro drivers would be particularly pleased.
No, they wouldn't be pleased, but also Luke wouldn't be pleased if he ended up involved in an incident like he had in race 1. So it's that playing the percentages that the top drivers just all seem to have that edge of being able to weigh things up and say, it's not worth the risk. Let's just bank the points and just sit here and I'm in for a good result. But yeah, it's how those top drivers win championships. Luke gave some good effort last season to try and win the AM championship and pushed Leo Gariboli, but Leo just had that bit of consistency. I think Luke has really picked up that consistency this season, and that's the reason, part of the reason, along with his pace, as to why he's dominating the AM championship.
Well, I mean, yeah, look at today. This great example. Has had some serious damage in the first race after contact with one of those pro drivers. By the way, it was Alexander Davidson that he made contact with. So I think it was anyway, if memory serves.
Yes,
so
you said so.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see Davidson closing back up. Maybe there'll be even more between them. Who knows? But he's already been in the barrier once. Speaking of the barrier, Eric Grove into the barrier, going down into the elbow, and now will drop right the way down the order. This is a circuit that can bite, and it's showing.
And once again, it's Forest Elbow, and once again, it's a World Sim Racing car. I mean, name a bit more iconic duo than those two together into the wall. But there you go. That's what happens in the blink of an eye. Speaking of blink of an eye, Leo Gariboli and Luke Bennett, they're switching positions. So Leo's trying to hang on to 4th place. Luke, he's desperate for points. He wants to move forward in all this because he'll be in a form that won't be happy with how his season has been so far.
And look at that in the foreground as well. It's not just this where there's the battle for position. You've got the battle for second. It could well become an apex 1-2 in this race. Pete Berryman is leading by 2.2 seconds, but I've got to say Luke McEwen is knocking at the door of maybe getting past Graham Carroll and is going for a move now up into Griffin's Bend. He's got the inside run, and look at that. Graham Carroll does not fight it. He is thinking points here. He is thinking podium. Meanwhile, behind, well, there's no thinking of points between these two. It is just elbows out racing. Gariboli able to hang on to 4th for now.
For now, yeah, but for how long? He's got enough for 2.5 laps or so to worry about it. Let's look back then at what happened to Eric Grove, and he just loses it back end out into the front end, into the back end. That's the combo. He's got a mechanical meatball warning flag.
Yeah, big shame for Eric Grove. He's actually showing some really good pace. Qualified 14th position, went his way up to, I think it was like 5th or 6th position, and then worked a drop backwards just a touch from there. Showed some great pace in the first race. Was showing some good pace in this one to get a double top 10 in Bathurst. Unfortunately, though, is going to to go for a bit of a trip down pit lane for him in the second race of the evening, as we can stare into the eyes of Luke Bennett and Sebastian Jobe, who's back knocking at the door from, of course, the rear wing of Gariboli. That pressure has really built, and surely there's going to be a move here down into the chase, and Bennett will be inside the top 4.
Leo's got to be careful with his defensive moves, and he can't. He's moving about a bit, but there's Bennett. Then he's gone out of shot, and he's pretty much got the move done by the time they reach the kink here. But Gariboli's there alongside. Contact between the two of them. They're both keeping on track, though. That's incredible.
Not a fan of that. I don't think either of those two are either. Enormous crash nearly incoming there as Gariboli basically down the pit entry. He's going to go potentially deep here into the final corner. Does not do so. Well judged. And through in all of this is going to come Sebastian Jobe right on board with him. Yes, his car's damaged. Yes, he's the championship leader. And he has worked his way through into 4th position courtesy of some heavy fighting between Luke Bennett and Gariboli. But Gariboli's not going to be done here. We head up Mountain Straight once more. We ride on board with the Apex Racing Academy car, who's going to bump draft the rear end of Sebastian Jobe before pulling out last minute. Now Luke Bennett's going to get to the inside. To the outside of Griffin's bend, Gariboli's going to go. Bit of a brush between the two of them. Sebastian Jobe comes through, as does Luke Bennett.
Sebastian yesterday, after his races in the Super Cup, said that he was unhappy. I shall give a bit of a different word to what he said, and he said that there were a few drivers yesterday out to do one thing and one thing only, and that was take him out. So I don't think he'll have been too happy with what's been going on with Gariboli there, with both Luke Bennett and with himself. So I think Sebastian's a little bit annoyed, but one thing that does help Sebastian now, getting into 4th place, it minimises the effect of Luke McEwen now being in 2nd place.
Well, we'll have to catch up with him post-race and see exactly how he's felt about this one. Like I said, I did listen to that interview. He was pretty miffed, would be the way of going about it. Josh Thompson's put honour, passion, integrity into chat in game. Don't know why, but fair enough. Moving on. Clearly he's not had a great race, but he is keeping an eye on his teammates right now, who are running 4th and 5th at the moment. Will there be a switch between the pair of these? I mean, let's be honest, Luke Bennett could probably do with the points, and as much as Sebastian Jobe is still looking to hunt down, to still grab the championship, of course, he's in such a comfortable lead. I think the switch of a couple of points doesn't really matter too much to him.
But every little point matters. Sebastian will remember what happened in 2022 and how it went down to that last race, and he will just want every point that he can possibly get here in all of this. So I thought that last lap we were going to see a massive accident again with how aggressive Leo Gariboli and Luke Bennett and Sebastian were being there amongst themselves. But Sebastian now, he can look in the mirror, see Luke Bennett there, and is Bennett going to pull out here? Is he going to make a move? No, he's not.
No, I think he's playing the team game here a little bit. Maybe he'll do something down to the chase. More dramas for Alex Davidson. I think was off at the first corner, dropping back a couple of spots behind Pennington and Mokes. Thankfully, it's just the pair of those two, and he's not lost out anything actually in class.
Look at how close on the timing Mokes and Pennington are. In fact, they've just switched positions.
And I think there might have been a bit of incident with Will Chadwick and all of that. So we're getting some dramas in the AM category as well. So much that we're going to have to go through a little bit in the final moments of this race. Of course, the white flag is out. This is the last lap, and Scott Mokes is looking for a double victory on the mountain, which, to be perfectly honest, we weren't really expecting.
I tell you what, you said that this is the place to do a double, and Scotty Mokes could well be on his way to doing the double. That would be fantastic for the AM Championship contender. He's in second place coming into this round of the championship. He'll want that win. But speaking of winners, Pete Berryman, it's been a while. It took him the second race of the season to get a win.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the only win that he's had this season thus far. He's had an up and down campaign in the championship thus far, but this will be a very well-deserved victory before he heads to a circuit, which I know he doesn't like that much. Really struggled around there in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship, what was removed him from the championship fight at Knock Hill. So we'll have to wait and see how he goes in that championship. This Luke Bennett and Sebastian Jobe have switched positions behind all of this, and Pete Berryman will take the race victory down through the final corner. And for the second time this season, it is Berryman on top with with McEwen and Carroll rounding out the podium. We'll see those cross the line. Great drive there from Carroll to have secured that third position. Behind all of this, though, it is going to be Scotty Mokes, we do believe, as the victor in the AM category. Alex Davidson's going to get around the outside, and it is going to be that victory for Mokes. So it is the double in the AM category for him.
Oh, a little bit of a bump there from Luke Pennington over the line on Scotty Mokes. I think there might have been a little bit of a coming together between the two of those on that last lap of the race. So it'll be interesting to get the old replay machine wound up and have a look at that one.
There's a lot to have been dealt with in all of that. I'm going to assume there was contact. Let's see. So this way around, it's Pennington with Mokes behind. And Mokes, I don't know. Mokes definitely hit the back of him, but I don't know if it's because Pennington had hit the curb.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that there's anything in that.
Yeah, I don't know either. Anyway, we could look over that ad nauseum. I was like looking over it again. Either way, Pete Berryman taking a victory in the second race, making it an Apex Racing Team 1-2 in the second race here at Bathurst. Graham Carroll rounding out the podium for the Veloce Vex team, with Luke Bennett in fourth place, taking the fastest lap for the second consecutive race. He has had the pace on the mountain, getting past his teammate Sebastian Job on the final lap. Garibaldi inside the top six with Will Chadwick, Jack Sedgwick, Jacob Toft and Alexander Davidson rounding out an all-pro top 10. Scott Mokes taking the victory in the AM category for the second consecutive race. Of course, with Pennington, a lot of conversation between the pair of those, I do believe, post-race. Jamie Moon in 13th position with Woodhatch. Gareth Higgins, of course, Woodhatch taking the third position in that AM category. Gareth Higgins, before we get to Daniel Martin and Adam Cox, inside the top 5 in the AM category, 17th overall. Dylan Platt, James Parker and Daniel Cofield down in 20th position before we get Ollie Ettridge and then a string of retirements. Eric Grove having issues going down into the Forest Elbow for the WSR Esports team. Josh Thompson with that massive crash over the top, getting retired with Matt Emery, and Adam Holloway with drama on the first lap of proceedings. What on earth was going on in the AM category? I think there was even more.
Well, I mean, this is on the last lap of the race. This is Alex Davidson, who's a pro, getting involved in all of this. Scott makes a cutback here. This is how close it was at the end for Scott Mokes. There's Luke Pennington trying to make his way past Alex Davidson in all of this, and through the final corner, Mokes takes the win, and then Pennington after the line. Mokes celebrates. Pennington, bang, a little bit of a nudge there. Well, it's a double win though for Scott Mokes in AM category, which is what he needed here. With the domination that Luke Pennington has shown in AM, Scotty Mokes needed that here today to try and kickstart his championship campaign into the second half of the season.
Yeah, exactly. We are being 5 rounds down into it. It was a very important one for him, but it was hugely dramatic, a little bit sketchy, a little bit crazy. Less so at the front of the pro category, where we've got Pete Berryman, and Paul, you can have a little bit of a chat with him.
Yeah, Pete Berryman, once again, a race winner here. You've had to wait a little while to speak to us, but it must feel good to get a win back in the books.
Yeah, I mean, wins are always good. I'm turning into a bit of a reverse grid merchant, though, so it would be nice to get the wins in the first race where the big points are, or bigger points at least. But yeah, it's nice to get a win regardless, especially after the first race. Yeah, a bit disappointing to get shoved off the track like that, but it was sort of to be expected. Similar style of racing from the previous rounds from the same car. So yeah, a bit disappointing, but karma in the end sort of let everything back into place after that.
Well, I mean, you look at it, I mean, we thought that you'd had a really good qualifying lap. We were with you when in qualifying, and then others just seemed to just pull laps out of the bag. But you're able to finish 4th in race 1. Race 2 then, I mean, did you hear about what happened behind? Because there was a massive accident, and suddenly it was just you, Graham Carroll, and Leo up at the front.
No, I knew nothing about it. Qualifying, like I said, yeah, I mean, the lap wasn't great. I think we looked at what the guys did, and yeah, I think it's quite interesting what those guys did. Wall riding is a bit, I don't know what the sporting code's like, but yeah, I think we need to look into it a bit further. But by the sounds of it, I'm not a huge fan of riding up against walls to prepare tires and stuff. We'll see what the stewards have to say about that sort of thing. Yeah, I've no idea what happened behind. Graham seemed to definitely have an issue of some sort, because he's definitely not as slow as he was that race. He didn't even put up a fight, so I'm sure he could probably give a bit of insight on what the deal was there. But yeah, it seemed like he had some sort of issue, and from there it was sort of just cruising on my own out front, watching Luke sort of coming through with good pace again, and yeah, nice to have Leo getting a good result as well. He's had a bit of a shocker to the start of the season, so finally something to show for the pace he's got.
Well, Peter, congratulations. Another race win in the bag, and all the best next time out at Knockhill.
Yeah, it should be fun. Thanks, guys.
That was Pete Berryman joining us, and hopefully we'll get to speak to his teammate Luke McEwen, because in fact he does join us now. Luke, I mean, my goodness, what a couple of days it's been for you here, both in the Super Cup and then here in this in the British Carrera Cup. I mean, 2 second places here. Let's talk about that. You must be happy at being able to start eating into Sebastian Job's championship lead.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fun round, to be honest. Yeah, qualifying, I mean, I heard Pete, like, what they did. I don't know what they did, but I mean, I don't see why they did it, but oh well. Yeah, race 1, pace was really, really good, was catching the leaders really quickly. So, you know, definitely had really good pace coming to this round. This is a good track for me. Quite enjoy it. And yeah, race 2, bit of a shunt. Car was, I thought I was getting a meatball. I was looking up at the screen, just waiting for it to come, but somehow I didn't. I had steering damage, front damage, left damage. It was not a fun car to drive, but the pace was still there, and yeah, really happy that Pete got the win. You know, he really deserves it with his good pace he's had, and yeah, really happy.
I want to give people context at home. I mean, this track is an extremely difficult track, especially over the top of the mountain. Just how much harder did it make your life with that damage in that second race? Yeah,
I mean, it definitely affected it. It took a lap or two to kind of figure out what was different in the car. Like a lot of the right-handers felt really understeery, and the rear was kicking out a lot, so I had to kind of adjust towards that. But yeah, I think one of the traits of mine is I can adapt quite quickly to stuff. So after a lap or two, I kind of understood what was going on and just started to push fast as I can from there.
And of course, we move to Knockhill next round. Is that a track that you have fond memories of, or is it a track that you'd rather not be seeing on the calendar?
Although I'm not a massive fan of it, I think it'd be good. Better in this car. I've only driven it in an F4 car, and I don't even want to speak about that. But hopefully it'll be better in this thing, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, congratulations. 2 second places here today after starting on 6th in race 1. That you must be delighted. But all the best then for the next round.
Thank you. Cheers.
And we will get to speak very briefly as well to Luke Bennett. I mean, Luke, you did all the hard work in qualifying, get yourself on pole position. I mean, talk us through what happened. We've got to talk about it, or else I won't be doing my job. But like that first race start.
Yeah, well, obviously quali went really well. Hit the lap in quali. You know, really happy with it. Sitting on the grid, there's always that little bit of nerves going on, and my foot was shaking a little bit. The red lights were on for a while, and yeah, just touched the throttle, and that was it.
But then we saw a fantastic, one of the best drives of the season, of you then working your way through that field. At this track, are you glad that happened here rather than last time at Oulton Park? Because it's a track that you can overtake at here.
Ah, yeah, definitely. If you're gonna mess up anywhere with that kind of thing, you want to do it here. You know, the first race was really quite unbelievable. It was actually a lot of fun. It was probably a lot more fun than if I'd started at the front. So, but yeah, it was good. You know, if that had happened last week, I mean, we saw what I did to Luke last week, backing it up. And it's really difficult to overtake there, but here it's a little bit easier.
And then second race, you're in that group. I mean, what did you see of that incident happening in front over the top of the mountain with Josh and Leah?
Yeah, I could kind of see it coming a while off. You know, they were battling hard. Saw them go side by side, and as soon as I saw that they were side by side going into that right-hander, I knew that there was going to be a shunt of some sort. Did my best to avoid it. I came away pretty clean, but not clean enough. And yeah, ended up getting held up at the end by Liu. He was proven wise in the academy team and not in the main team. But yeah, tried my best.
Well, Luke, we'll let you get away, but congratulations on a great recovery drive, one of the best drives of the season.
Cheers, thank you.
Wow. Some spice in those interviews, Paul. What have you been feeding him? Oh my goodness. Wow. What a round it has been here at Mount Panorama. Very exciting stuff. And I say, good to hear from all of them, but it doesn't seem like anyone's particularly calm after that one.
I mean, it is an intense track. It is intense racing around here. I can understand why nerves are a little bit on edge at the moment. Some not happy with what's happening in qualifying. Some not happy with what's happening out there on the track during the races. Yeah, I mean, we get that raw emotion from the drivers. I love to see it. I wish a few more drivers would be a bit like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you say nerves are intense around here. What about in 3 weeks' time when we go to Knock Hill? What are the nerves going to be like there?
It's going to be tremendous. It is going to be, I mean, if this was fun, I can't wait to see what these drivers get up to at Knock Hill. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And we could see the gloves properly coming off there as well. They could be knocking 7 bells out of each other.
Yes, indeed. Of course, you'll have to rejoin us on the 24th of March. That's in 3 weeks' time as we return to the United Kingdom. We are done here at the mountain. 2 victories in the AM category for Scott Mokes, 1 for Sebastian Jobe in the pro category, and of course, Pete Berryman taking the final victory of the afternoon. We'll see you in 3 weeks' time for the Rafa Racing Club Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. From Lewis McGlade, from Paul Smith in the commentary booth, we'll see you all then. Bye-bye.